We're talking about castor oil, the do's, the don'ts, some helpful tips. If you've just started using castor oil or if you're thinking about using castor oil, you definitely want to know about these things. These are things that I did not know when I first started using castor oil, and there's a bit of a learning curve. We're going to talk about how to avoid getting stains on your clothing and your sheets, how to put it on so it's not quite so sticky and messy. What if it smells? Is it safe to use if you're pregnant? And what about possible drug interactions and other controversies associated with my new boyfriend, Castor? So to be perfectly transparent, I am a little bit biased when it comes to castor oil because I fell in love with castor oil a little more than 30 days ago. But when I posted my recent video talking about the changes that I experienced in my skin just after 30 days, I saw so many comments from you. So many people asking the same questions and things that I was like, oh yeah, I didn't realize. Like, it does take some getting used to. So first, let's talk about the stickiness. It is very sticky. And that was the first thing I noticed when I first tried castor oil for the first time. I'm going to move this close so you can see. Like, it's almost like, you see that, how thick it is? I'm not doing a good job with this, but like it's almost as thick as honey. It is very thick, and that is one of the beautiful properties of castor oil. Now, in a previous video, I broke down the origins of castor oil, what to look for, what are the best ways to store castor oil, all of the different, like, more scientific things that you might want to know about linoleic acid and all of the components, everything that's comprised in castor oil in this video, this episode, where I talked about the changes to my skin. So if you want the whole background and you want more information about castor oil, you could check out that episode. But if you're like, I already know all about it, I just want to know like how to use it, let's talk about the stickiness. So the stickiness is obviously one of the things that people don't like. When I first started using castor oil, my massage therapist, she's a lymphatic massage therapist, was using castor oil. And then when I ordered it myself, I'm like, this doesn't seem like the same kind of oil that she was using, because what I bought felt kind of sticky and what she was using on me felt like it wasn't as sticky. So I asked her why mine was more sticky, and she explained to me that is because she dilutes hers. So that's one way that you can make yours less sticky. And some people like to dilute theirs with coconut oil. You typically want to use a 1-to-1 ratio. Some people prefer a 2-to-1 ratio. The less sticky you want your castor oil, then the more you would dilute it with another high quality oil. Listen, y'all, at the end of this video, I'm going to get you really excited about another oil if you're not in love with castor oil that I think you're going to really enjoy. But if you love castor oil and you just want to make it less sticky, you can mix it with a sesame oil, coconut oil. You can mix it even with your own body lotion. Another way that people recommend using castor oil is while the skin is wet. Because the properties of castor oil are so emulsive, they're so hydrating that when you're just out of the shower or if you've just washed your face, by adding a little bit of castor oil, I mean just a little bit is all you need, and it will mix in nicely with that water. It won't break down with the water, but it does tend to mix into the skin a little bit better, and I've noticed it feels less sticky. So I will show you exactly what I do when I'm using castor oil on my face, because many people were like, commented, there's no way you're putting castor oil on your face and then putting your makeup on. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm not a liar, pants on fire. I use castor oil on my face, but here's how I do it. First, I wash my face, I use a toner, and then while my face is still pretty wet, I will apply all of my potions and lotions and serums. And I start with the lightest serums first and then move on to the heaviest serums. And the heaviest serum of all, in my opinion, is my castor oil. I use just a little bit. I'm going to go get the kind that I use. I'll be right back. Bye. I'm wearing my workout leggings. Now you know. I'm all business on the top and all walking on the bottom. Don't forget to get your 10,000 steps in today. So this is what I use on my face. Now you can use any high quality castor oil. This one happens to be 100% pure. It is hexane free. It is extra virgin, and it's Expeller pressed. Now there is cold press and there's Expeller press, and there's a lot of controversy and misinformation when it comes to the type of pressed castor oil that you want to use. This one is organic black castor oil, and it is from Queen of Thrones. I will link to it for those of you who are interested in our show notes. But this one I really like because it's got a little like dropper, but it's really thick. How I apply it, I put just a little bit, tiny little bit on my fingertips. I rub it together and get it nice and warm. And then I just work it into my face using my massage technique. And I apply it all over my face. And then on top of the castor oil, I sometimes will then put my own moisturizer or an SPF. And it's not sticky at all, but I'm using very little and I'm using it in combination with my other serums. Before we go much further, I'd like to take just a moment to guilt you into making sure you're subscribed. I mean, if you're not subscribed and you're watching all these videos and I keep seeing, I'm looking and I literally checked today and I'm like, there's no way. You're not subscribed. I mean, it has to have been an accident or maybe you accidentally unsubscribed. Anyways, let's just fix that. Subscribe right now, hit that like button, and back to the show. In the previous episode that I did on castor oil, I looked at some of the myths and misconceptions and some of the claims that people make about castor oil because I really wanted to know, like, is there scientific evidence to show that these claims people make about castor oil are legitimate? And I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you there were very few studies that I could find that proved all of these crazy claims that people are making about castor oil. But the question really remains, is there any harm in using it? Like if everyone and their brother is saying that it's transformed their skin or it's helped them to, reduce the signs of psoriasis, I mean, is there any harm in using it? And I can tell you this, I couldn't find anything negative. I searched PubMed, I searched all the research articles. What you will find, however, are a lot of anecdotal experiences. And I'm going to share my own. My husband and I just went and celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary. I got a new ring. What? Yeah, I got a new ring. And he had a breakout of psoriasis. And so I'm like, dude, let's just do a little experiment. So here's the photo of him on day one when his psoriasis broke out all over his back. And then here is 2 days later after just applying castor oil. Now, typically when he has a breakout like that, it lasts for like 3 or 4 weeks. It drives him crazy. It gets even more red and more inflamed. And especially we find this to be the case when he's in warm weather. So I don't know. All I know is it was gone in 2 days for him. I also have been getting messages from people on Instagram who are like, here's my face before using castor oil, my psoriasis, and here's my face after, or rosacea. So I'm not telling you that there's any medical proof that these things will actually heal using castor oil because there just haven't been any studies on them, frankly. But what we do know, it is antimicrobial and it is antifungal and it is anti-inflammatory. So if the skin is inflamed, it would just make sense that if you're putting an anti-inflammatory on it, that inflammation is going to go down. When I've talked about using castor oil on my face, I have had people come out of the woodwork and say like, oh my God, it cured my acne, it cured my sunspots, my face is so smooth and so clear. And I've also had people say it made me break out. So I think the bottom line is to know this. There's no miracle drug, there's no miracle product in the world that's going to work for everybody. And just because an influencer or just because your favorite person online loves a product and it works for them doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. We all have different skin types. So if you have very sensitive skin, if you're wondering if it's safe for you to use, I mean, by all means, check with your physician, check with the dermatologist. But it is a very safe product to use. Now, I've also heard a lot of people say like, oh, pregnant women should never use castor oil. Well, I have searched high and low, and I think where that misinformation comes from is that a lot of people associate when they're talking about castor oil, they're talking about consuming it and consuming it for the purpose of its laxative effects. Now, it is a natural laxative that's FDA approved in the treatment of chronic constipation. However, it's intense and it causes major cramping, as you would imagine, and it gets rid of everything. And you don't want major cramping and to be getting rid of everything while you're pregnant. I think that just makes sense. And so it certainly could induce labor if you're ingesting it. But I've never ingested castor oil, and I have no knowledge about the ingesting of castor oil, so that's not what we're talking about here. So with regard to drug interactions, yes, there are 214 known drug interactions when you are drinking your castor oil. But if you're just applying it to your skin, I wondered, okay, I use a topical bioidentical hormone, right? Like, so if you're using an estrogen cream or a testosterone cream or a progesterone cream or any type of medical cream, you might wonder if it's safe for you to use castor oil. And I will tell you, it is really important from my lawyer that I tell you you should check with your doctor first. But I searched and I couldn't find any studies that showed any problems with using castor oil other than the fact that you may make your medication more potent because castor oil makes your skin more hydrated. And more hydrated skin is able to absorb any type of topical medication. So the way I was looking at that, I'm like, well, that's kind of a good thing for me. And like, I want to make sure that my medications get absorbed. The downside of all that hydration on your skin is if you're someone like me who also uses a self tanner, which is probably horrible. I'm sure it is, but like I'll pay the price. If that means I die 5 years earlier, but I don't have pasty white skin, I will deal with those consequences. I like to self tan my skin, but the castor oil breaks down that self tanner really fast. So instead of it lasting like, a week, it lasts me like 4 days, but at least my skin's hydrated. So again, to clarify, there are several known drug interactions if you're ingesting castor oil. So be sure to check with your pharmacist first if you're considering taking castor oil orally. Now let's talk about how to avoid staining your clothing. Well, it's oil, and all oil is going to potentially stain clothing. So the key, I think, is considering when you're applying it, how much you're applying, and then what you're putting on afterwards. I personally put castor oil on after I'm out of the shower. My skin is wet. And I typically will wear my robe or a towel while I'm getting ready for another like 30 minutes at least, while my skin is drying from taking the shower and adding the castor oil. But if I'm putting on something silky, like this kind of a silky shirt, I probably wouldn't immediately put the shirt on. I mean, you do have to think about that a little bit. It is oil. And if you do get it in your clothing or on your sheets, one of the easiest ways to get it out was with good old fashioned Dawn detergent. Like Dawn detergent, the same thing they use to clean up oil spills. This stuff breaks down oil. But if you're careful, it shouldn't. I mean, I've looked. I put on all of my leggings, like today I'm wearing leggings on the bottom. And I put on all of them, like my pastel and light and pink colored and bright colored leggings within 30 minutes after applying the castor oil, and none of them have any stains. I've checked our sheets, and we do have a set of dark gray colored sheets. Those are my tanning sheets. And I can see that there's some oil stains on those. So yeah, I probably applied a whole bunch of that castor oil, then got into bed and had a good time and left some stains from the oil, but I can get it out with the Dawn if I needed to. But I looked on all of our like white colored sheets and I don't see any stains. I checked. So again, if you're using castor oil and you're getting onto sheets right away without allowing it to dry, yeah, you can probably expect, as you would with any oil, to see an oil stain. Here's one of my favorite ways to apply castor oil. After I've gotten completely dressed, and I just want a little bit of shine down the front of my legs and just down my arms, like just a little bit of shine. I don't want to put oil all over. I don't want oil all over my hands. I just want like a little, almost like a highlight. This is the organic castor oil with a rose quartz ball at the top. This is rose quartz. It's so nice. And I'll show you, it just rolls on. I just put a little strip of it down my shins and then just on the like highlights of my shoulders. And it just adds a nice little glisten. And it's all natural, so you don't have to worry about, I don't know, putting on one of those body sparkles or whatever. And I will link to this rose quartz applicator. It's really nice. And what most people use this applicator for is to apply to specific areas where they're using a castor oil compress. So if you recall, the reason why, or the person who turned me on to castor oil was my doctor. Isn't that crazy? So shout out to Dr. Kristen Singler, Huntington Beach, who I go to for all of my longevity and hormone monitoring, etc. And when I discovered that one of my vocal cords had been partially paralyzed from a surgery, it's a long story that we cannot get into. But anyways, it's been partially paralyzed. And, I've had ear, nose, and throat specialists take a look at it. And they're like, maybe it'll come back. It's very inflamed. And my doctor suggested, have you ever considered just wearing a castor oil pack on your neck? And I said, no, I hadn't. She goes, well, if it's very inflamed, it can really help to reduce inflammation. And they make a neck castor oil pack specifically to help women with, or anyone, I should say, with thyroid. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, if my castor oil, and she goes, I know it sounds crazy, but the stuff is amazing. It's amazing. So again, there's not a ton of research, but there's loads of anecdotal proof. And if my doctor's suggesting I use it, I'm like, why not? So that's when I started using castor oil. And what I found is that this is a super easy way to apply the castor oil on like a very specific spot, like on my neck, and then put the castor oil pack over it. I recently also had a breast reduction surgery, and after my wounds were healed, just to continue to bring down inflammation and for healing, they have these amazing pads that are specifically made to insert inside of your bra, and then they snap on the straps of your bra. And for me, I just wear them while I'm getting ready. So while I'm putting on my makeup in the morning, or while I'm, getting ready for whatever, to go out for the day or to do a YouTube video, I just will wear those for like 30 minutes. The thing with the packs is they're most effective, not just because you're putting castor oil in that area, but the compression from these packs makes a huge difference. But it is so important that you're using 100% organic materials with those compresses. Now, there's tons of these things on Amazon, like every influencer's talking about these packs and using them for liver detox and all the other things and parasites and, all these crazy things. Which, listen, do I know anything about that? I don't even want to talk about parasites. The whole thing grosses me out. So I'm like, la, 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 la. But anyways, everyone's using these compresses. But when I did my research, I realized a lot of them are being made out of materials that are not organic. So you're getting let me have Dr. Marisol explain it.
The pack has to be a specific material, specific softness. It also needs to cover certain dermatomes in the area to have the effects, because we're working with somatic visceral reflexes. So it's a bit of a somatic therapy that you can do at home on your own. So, like the Queen of the Thrones castor oil pack, I've studied this for decades, and now there's competitors coming left, right, and center, but they're not doing it right. And it's really frustrating, because I'm concerned that people are going to get those packs and their packs are not the right distribution. Worse is that the material that they're using isn't correct. You're always looking for castor oil pack for only organic cotton and organic wool, and it must be organic. And here's why. That castor oil is a master carrier oil. If you're using any type of material like bamboo is what the majority of the other castor oil packs are made out of. You'll find them in organic bamboo. You'll find organic cotton velour. All of these are materials that are actually blended with plastics. And anytime you have a rayon or an elastane or any type of plastic fiber, they've used phthalates in it. And phthalates are a number one enemy to the woman in the hormonal body, because they're hormone disruptors. And plus, bamboo as a material, yes, it's inexpensive, so those packs will be less expensive, but you do get what you pay for. Bamboo in construction is as strong as steel. So you can imagine that what they have to do chemically to break down bamboo fibers in order to put it into a fiber that is softer than cotton. And because it's eco-friendly, it's such a rabbit hole. Because it's eco-friendly, they don't use very much water to clean the material after processing, which means that it's likely that you're actually retoxing when you use those kinds of materials rather than detoxing. So, the pack is essential, but the right pack is even more important.
So the compress that I wear on my neck, by the way, what's nice about these is they are all washable, they are reusable, which is great, and they keep things nice and clean. So I will just use my roller, put that on my neck. You could do this for thyroid support, and then you just put the compress on, and the one that I'm using, which I'll link to, has this little toggle at the back, so you can make it as loose or as tight as you want to hold it in place. The reason why the compresses are so important, like the reason why you don't just put it on your liver or just put it over your neck for your thyroid, and the oil that is because the compresses actually naturally hold in your body heat. And you don't have to wear them overnight. You can wear them for as little as 30 minutes. I assume the longer you wear them, the better it is for you. But for me, I'm not comfortable wearing them at night. Like anything that's touching my skin, I don't know, I can't sleep well. So I will just wear them while I'm getting ready. I'll wear the ones over my breasts while I'm doing my makeup. And again, wearing the compress over the breast is great for reducing inflammation. And we know that such a high percentage of breast cancer is as a result of lifestyle that creates inflammation in the body. So it's just an extra added way to reduce inflammation. I'm not suggesting that it's going to prevent breast cancer. I'm just suggesting that, like for me anyways, to reduce the swelling, to reduce breast pain, to reduce any inflammation that I was experiencing post-surgery. That's why I started using them. But I know a lot of women use them every single day as a way to either heal from breast cancer or hopefully as part of a healthy lifestyle in an effort to do all of the things that they're doing to hopefully prevent having any type of cancer. Now, I had a lot of people ask about the scent of castor oil. I'm like, there is no scent. So I looked into it and here's what I found. This makes so much sense. The reason why some of you have castor oil that smells is because you're probably buying castor oil that is rancid. It does have a shelf life. And that's why, again, is convenient. And as much as I love Amazon, I don't buy certain products off of Amazon because there's just no way of knowing how long things stay on the shelves. It's also because third-party sellers get involved where you think it looks like you're buying directly from the manufacturer, but you're not. And you end up getting a product that's old, that's been broken down. So if your castor oil has any scent whatsoever, it's probably bad and you should throw it away. When you're looking for a high-quality castor oil, you want to make sure that it's extra virgin. You want to make sure that it's 100% pure. You want to make sure that it's only in a glass container. And ideally, although not every company is as transparent as you would like for them to be, ideally you want to look for a company that carefully monitors every process of the processing of the castor oil so that at no point it's in plastics. Because if it's in a plastic bottle, if at any point it's being transported in plastic, even before it goes into the glass bottle, castor oil is so strong that it has the ability to break down those plastics, and then you're getting microplastics inside of your castor oil. So that's why I went with, because I know that they third-party lab test, and that is the Queen of Thrones brand. But there are other brands that do that too. I'm not saying you have to buy the one that I use, but I will link to that below in our show notes. They do use an expeller pressed process, and there's lots of controversy. Actually, it's misinformation regarding expeller pressed, cold press, heat press. So there's heat press, there's cold press, and then there's expeller pressed. Well, expeller pressed, there's a lot of misconceptions about that because it's a machine. It's a name brand of a machine, and that machine can do heat pressed or cold pressed. So there's a lot of controversy there. But anyways, this is a great brand. But again, I don't think you should order this stuff off of Amazon, because you just don't know half the time. So I order mine directly from the company. And again, when you're talking about the compresses, I highly recommend that you use one that is 100% organic. As I mentioned, castor oil shouldn't have any scent whatsoever. However, unless you add your own scents, I put essential oils. I don't know if you can see these. I get these little essential oils at my local farmer's market, at my local Whole Foods. I'm sure you can get them online too. They are by Gaia Labs. Sorry, I don't have a link for these, but I mix in vanilla, and I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it pronounced lang lang? I'm not sure, but they smell so good together. And, if you've got your perfect combo of essential oils, drop them below in our comment section and share with us your favorite combination, because when I mix those two in with my castor oil, Brett's always like, "You smell so good." I'm like, "Thank you." Y'all, don't sleep on sesame oil. There's a lot of actual research on sesame oil. In fact, I'm going to link to one below where they found that sesame oil, and now it wasn't a huge study, but it was a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial using sesame oil, and they used it specifically for pain relief for individuals who had major limb trauma. I don't even know what major limb trauma is, but it sounds horrible. 90 people in this survey, and they found overwhelmingly the patients that they used sesame oil on had less pain and far less significant bruising Then I started finding research on sesame oil and knee pain and arthritis pain. So like I'm thinking I need to look into sesame oil. Sesame oil, again, it also does not have any scent. It's not sticky. It's much, what's the word? It's more watery. So I use sesame oil and I mix it in with my castor oil. I mean, you mix these two oils together and it's like, whoosh. I think we're going to like be Benjamin Button and look so young and so uninflamed, anti-inflamed. I don't know. The stuff that's great. And it's readily available. And also my lymphatic massage therapist loves sesame oil. She mixes the two in. So I'm saying like, why not? And of course you could also mix it with fractioned coconut oil, MCT oil, right? You could mix that in there. It's a nice carrier oil to mix with your castor oil. Or you can just use it as is. Like when my skin is really dry, which it was before I started using castor oil, like I literally, once I hit menopause, I'm like, what is going on with my skin? Yeah, once I hit like age 40, 45, like I could not believe how freaking dry my skin was. And once I started using the castor oil and I'm like watching all these other people talk about it, I was like, this stuff is amazing. So I have one jar. I pour mine into a separate glass jar, even though it comes like this. I don't like things with a label on my counter. Call me OCD. I like to leave this out on the counter. It's just a glass bottle, and I have two of them. I have one that I have mixed with a carrier oil. I've mixed with sesame oil, and I've also mixed it with my essential oils. And that's the one that smells good. That's the one I can put on very quickly and get dressed very quickly. And then I have one that is just straight castor oil, just that thick, like almost the consistency of honey. And that one I put on when I know I've got more time to hang out in a towel and like really let it soak into my skin. And it's just done wonders for the texture, the firmness, and the elasticity of my skin. And that's kind of nice. Tell me below if you've used castor oil and you've had amazing benefits, or maybe you've had some not so amazing benefits. Please let us know below this video because we'd love to know. And if you've enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about the technique that I've used to sculpt my face, now using castor oil to do it, check out this video about how I changed my skin using castor oil. And if you just want to know more about lymphatic face massage and different things that I've done to help breathe better, learn to breathe through my nose and not through my mouth, you might want to check out this video. I hope that's been super helpful. I know a lot of you have said you're loving all of these tips, and I appreciate that. I never want you to feel like you need to use the product that I use. Do your own research. When in doubt, talk to your doctor. When in doubt, test a small area first to make sure that you're not going to have any weird reaction. But, you know, if we can find these like natural ways, these natural remedies that are, I mean, like God made such amazing things that will heal our bodies, and where we don't have to put drugs and we don't have to spend a lot of extra money, like why not give it a try? I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I really do appreciate you. Thank you for all of your feedback on the Patreon episodes. This weekend, part 9 of the Hollis deep dive drops on Patreon. And for those of you who are curious, it is not in any way, shape, or form a gossip piece. It's not a takedown piece. It is really a very open-minded, empathetic way to look at what's happened, what did happen, what could happen, and how social media has impacted all of us. The importance of not ever putting someone up on a pedestal so high that like they start to define the way you look at yourself, your own life, your relationships, how important it is to know who you are, to be authentic. It's an introspective piece, and I think that's why it's been so popular. And I want to thank all of you who have given me your trust and tried the free trial of Patreon to see if it's something that would be interesting to you. Anyways, I appreciate you. I love you. I mean it. And I'll talk to you soon. We're talking about my new boyfriend, Castor Oil. Okay. What was I going to start it with?